Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
Welcome back, everybody. If you haven't already, hit like and subscribe. It's been a couple weeks for us, even though maybe it hasn't been for you for once. For you, the audience. I'm not pointing at you, Matthew. Because last week we released our documentary, Get Schooled, The Burden of Education in North Carolina. And then we did a follow-up episode to talk about more specifically, our opinions about education in North Carolina and what we learned. So this is our first live episode in a few weeks. And welcome back. Thanks.
Welcome back, everybody.
So today we want to talk about
Lindsey Graham.
Well, Lindsey Graham's absolutely got to come up. I want to talk about like the idea of being, the title I called it something about it's still homophobic if it's against the conservatives or something like that. It doesn't have to be homophobia. It's just it's us being bigoted or like
doing things that we consider inappropriate, but it's okay if it's someone we don't like, especially in a political area.
Right. And I don't think that it has to be like, I think you can be insulting. I don't think we have to this isn't about,
it's more the blanket, things.
Right.
Like calling Rush Limbaugh fat when you would say you shouldn't call someone fat. That's not
right.
But like, it's okay for him. But
right.
And if you happen to be overweight and you hear me saying it, I didn't mean you, so don't be offended. I only meant him.
And I don't think that we need to it's not that we can't acknowledge truths. So like when we talk about back to the title specific situations, when we talk about gay people on the right, it's okay to point out the hypocrisy of that. It's okay to say, hey, we don't have a problem with you being gay. The problem is that you don't want anybody to be free to be gay or free to get married while gay or all these other issues that you're fighting against while secretly being gay, or and then it comes out, or there's rumors, or whatever. The problem is when we start then using language that in any other situation would be like, oh, that's clearly homophobic, or doing look at him, with his little pink drinks. I get made fun of for my pink drinks all the time, but if we, you talked about Lindsey Graham earlier, making fun of making fun of him for being gay as opposed to pointing out the hypocrisy. Those are different things to me.
Yeah, and I think the line that it's hard to do, and it kind of goes back to the Jeselnik quote of, if you're good at it, you get away with it because you're good at it and it's a real joke. It's not just an excuse saying I was joking.
Right.
But I think the kind of line is it can still be a joke, but it seems like I'm not making fun of being gay. I'm making fun of him because of the life that he has led in public and what he's done. And it's not to say that being gay is bad. It's just, look, those of you who support him, who hate gay people, look, you're supporting him.
Yeah, and I think there is a fine line. And sometimes it's hard to tell where you are on that line. You brought up right before we started the actual episode, you brought up the Ladybugs story with Lindsey Graham from. I only heard it after he died, so I don't know how long it's been open material. But there's a story about him having what a guy thought was poop on his butt. And he said, "Oh, those are my ladybugs because they're like birthmarks or
freckles
moles or freckles or whatever,
or genital or anal warts."
Yeah, there was some. It was not
disease.
Poop, but because he thought,
or it's just poop that's been there for so many years, it's like skin has grown over it, and it's
And so when people were making fun of that, to me, there is a way that it can be homophobic, but there's also if you told that story about a woman and you're like, oh, I was hooking up with this woman and I was like, oh, you have a little poop. Let me go get you something to wipe with or whatever. And she was like, oh, those are just my ladybug. Like that story is funnier because we know Lindsey Graham and how weird he was, and goofy in the way he talks.
And in the way he talks. And it's not just a Southern accent, but his accent in particular.
Right. And it's just, so there is that, but I think that story is funny regardless of sexuality. but there's so many other things where it's like, like I heard lots of people calling him Lady Graham,
Yeah,
and
but
I thought,
supposedly like Lady G was the name he used for grinder or
oh, okay,
and with escorts and stuff. Like supposedly like that was what they referred to him as, like his call sign.
okay, I did not know that,
Yeah, I don't know that it's a truth statement, but that is the
but
history of that.
that
Yeah.
doesn't make me feel comfortable calling him Lady G or like or Lady Graham the way that people were doing. Like
Yeah,
I
I mean,
because
I
I
can think it works if you have shared the story. Like you're
yeah,
talking the story of, according to multiple escorts
sure,
in the city where the RNC was held, Lindsey Graham was going by the name Lady G. So Lady G was also on stage. Like with the setup, it's not a defamatory kind of thing against any group.
right,
It's set up. This is the name that he uses. Now we can use it talking about him because he would find it embarrassing personally if
yeah,
it was out, and that's why it's funny. Like I made fun of Mr. Nimrod's svelte form in all of our shows, and he made what could be considered anti-Semitic jokes about me and my lovely dainty nose, but in the
yeah,
context of a comedy show where it was clear that it was hyperbolic
sure,
comedy, not an insult against an entire race or an entire uh, subspecies in Mikey's case. But it was obviously us jokes with love. We even scripted it into one of our scripted shows where
yeah,
we spent 30 seconds going back and forth with Jewish and cracker, blue-eyed devil kind of insults back and forth before saying that we're not appropriate to do a rap because of those reasons.
right, right. And I think when you talk about there there's the in group out group part of the whole process too. Whereas like if someone is gay and is referring to him as Lady Graham or is speculating about, like I kind of think that there is some danger in speculating too wildly about people that are homophobic on the right, that we just assume that makes them gay. Like I as a straight guy who, like, I feel like that's not my place also to be like, hey, like, oh,
Well, I mean, but that's Shakespeare's fault.
thou
Yeah,
doth
the lady
protest too
doth
much, right?
protest too much. I mean, that's his line. So
And I agree, and I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I also think that that's become an oversimplification for a lot of homophobia. And there is the truth of every Republican accusation is a confession or whatever,
it's aspiration
or an
or a
aspiration.
confession. Yeah.
But and I'm okay with that as a blanket statement about all Republican wrongdoing. But I do think, and I don't think being LGBT is wrongdoing, but you know what I'm saying. Like when they're like pointing and they get the three fingers pointing back at them. But I think that there is this sense of like we've overdone it. I also think getting into the racial component of it, I think we are often, and when I say we, I mean leftists, liberals, over the top a bit with our like. I don't think we're as bad as Joe Biden with if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. But there is a little bit of a is paternalistic the wrong word?
Probably you're using it.
Patronizing tone of like, I do think if you're anybody who's not like a rich white straight person, that there is a downside to your vote going that way. But I also think that like calling people out specifically and being like, oh, your vote, like the calling people out for voting against their own interest has to be done more delicately. Like you can't just be like, oh, what are you, stupid? You're black and you're voting Republican, or you're Hispanic and you're voting Republican, or you're, any of those things. I think there is a patronizing aspect to that just really, I think it creates a pushback, right? Because like lots of people, and I think if you vote Republican, your mindset is I'm not going to do what you tell me to, and so by telling me you think I'm stupid, I'm just going to double down. But also, you're assuming that person's voting based on A, B, C, and D when maybe they're voting based on something completely different.
I heard this thing recently on the TikToks that said rich people vote Republican because they'll put up with the racism to get the tax cuts,
Yeah.
and poor people vote Republican because they'll put up with
Put
the
up the
tax cuts to get the racism.
Yep. I heard that. It was on. It must have been on like Citation. One of those, like one of the.
Well, I, mean, I saw a person say it on TikTok, and then I heard someone else say it, and someone else say, "Well, I heard recently." Like they were all saying, "I heard recently," and then I saw
Yeah.
meme versions of it. So somebody smart said it, and it's been quoted a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite new thing in this realm is: have you heard what our good friend Tucker Carlson has been saying?
I don't think so. I mean, I've been on vacation for 2 out of the last 3
His
weeks.
accusation against a prominent
Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg is not gay. That is his claim.
And that if he ever gets
gay.
a chance to interview him, he's going to ask him detailed questions about gay sex.
Yeah, and I have Pete Buttigieg say, "Well, when my Santorum leaks."
I mean, also, like, here's the thing. I'm not gay, but I could probably answer gay sex questions for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not turned off by it so much that I won't think about
it. If I'm
it.
going on Tucker Carlson, I'm going to bone up on it.
Yeah. Watch some nography and, yeah, like that is such a weird thing. And I like that Pete Buttigieg's response was, I guess this is a weird sort of progress that I'm being accused of.
My whole career, I was afraid that I'm too gay for what I'm doing, and now I'm too straight.
Yeah. No, that clip is actually like 3 or 4 months old, but it's resurfaced in the last week because I saw it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Tucker Carlson is batshit crazy. But he was approached by demons in the middle of the night, and he got scratched by demons while his dogs lay asleep in his bed to protect him. Couldn't possibly.
He's stupid. That's what cats are for, not dogs. Cats are the ones that protect you from night beasties. Didn't he ever see Cat's Eye, the Stephen King's first movie that he directed?
I think it was his only movie that he directed, wasn't it?
I think he directed Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, he did. He did. Yeah. That's the one I was thinking of because I remember reading. I think it was in his On Writing book where he talked about like just the massive amount of cocaine that he was doing during making that movie. But I didn't realize he directed anything else other than that. I think
he did Cat's Eye. Cat's Eye was what's the word? Like a compilation, like a medley. There's a word for that. There's a word for that in movies. Like it's a bunch of short stories put together.
Yeah.
I think he directed it. I could be wrong, but I think he did.
I'm looking up.
Like the connection was the cat was in all of the short films, and then the last story was about the cat.
No, he only directed Maximum Overdrive.
I wonder who did it. I wonder what bad director directed
Cat's Eye.
James Woods in Cat's Eye. He plays a guy who's trying to quit smoking, so he goes to an organization that guarantees you'll quit smoking. And the way they do it is like they chop off your finger if they catch you smoking, and then if you smoke again, they kidnap and kill your wife. So I think they really give you an incentive to not smoke.
Okay, I was just about to ask you, who do you think is the most talented conservative? And because you mentioned James Woods, Louis Teague directed that, by the way. But you mentioned James Woods, and so I was about to ask you that, and then I thought about for a second. When they were talking about the Odyssey and all the issues with the Odyssey last month, and they were like, we're going to get, Elon wants to do an AI one. And somebody was like, we're going to get Mel Gibson to direct one. And I'm like, as much as I don't like Mel Gibson as a person, Mel Gibson is the one person that I think is a good point for them in pointing out, because he did that Apocalypto with genuine, indigenous people acting in it, and it was shot in their language of the like when you start talking about like, oh, like Matt Damon's not Greek, and like because they wanted to go,
no one in the movie is Greek.
They wanted because of Lupita Nyong'o, they wanted to like be oh, this is inauthentic, but like Mel Gibson's actually the one correction,
except he directed another little film,
The Passion of the Christ.
No. I mean, yeah, but
Braveheart,
in which he played a Scot. So he's not the one you want to get to say we want authenticity, because not like he cast himself as a Scottish lord, or a Scottish rebel. So just as bad.
I think I as much as I again, I don't think he's a
which I
good
don't
person.
really think is a problem because it's acting. But
Well,
still.
but he's a white guy, and he was playing a white guy.
Yeah, but see, people overuse the word white.
White.
Because white now just means anything that's not brown or black. And it's kind of like where 50 years ago, there's a difference between being Irish and being an Italian and being a Scottish and being like huge differences. And now we've just said, no, it's all white. Like the idea of having, like to go to an Irish person and say, oh, you're English, and see if there's a difference between the different things, right? But for some reason not for some reason, because white people in America have nothing else. They've latched onto this imaginary identity of white because they want something, and but it's like it's just as bad to switch which white person's playing which white character. That's not any different.
Yeah.
Or it's just as not bad, more accurately.
Yeah. But I think if you look at Passion of the Christ being filmed in Aramaic and Apocalypto, like he is the only person
he's done some things authentic.
He's the only person the right could pick that is both,
and he's a good director
at a directing level, even remotely close to Christopher Nolan,
and he's way anti-Semitic and racist, so he's like perfect balance. He's a talented director who's also a pure conservative racist.
Yep.
Anti-Semitic.
And weird religion. Like, he's
got all the things they want.
It's not enough to just be Catholic. He's the I only do Latin Mass Catholic. So, anyway, that's all I just wanted to say. But that's
that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah. But anyway, back to our original topic, which was homophobia. No.
So I think the balance is like earlier in the chat, Mr. Nimrod said that half of my comedy back in our old days was adversarial insults, but they were like those. Nobody walked out saying, "Oh, Matthew is anti this or anti that," because it was all in the comedy realm of clearly we're making jokes and being hyperbolic, and it's how witty we can be to make the joke, like playing the dozens. It doesn't mean we really slept with your mother. I mean, ironically, with us, it did. But I mean, but the joke is just, it's clearly a joke. So that in it is the line that has to be skirt. Like,
yeah.
And it doesn't excuse, I was only joking. Like, it doesn't mean like you do a just direct homophobic joke.
Right.
But you can make a joke about someone who's been hiding their reality when it comes out, or where they come out, that's not meant to impugn being gay or being any, like my good friend Jon Stewart from the Green Lantern, Jon Stewart from the Daily Show, way back when in the 80s, I saw him on I think it was the Tonight Show, though it could have been Arsenio, and he had a joke where he goes, if you're a black person and you're a Republican, you've got some soul searching to do. And he goes, and I don't want to speak for black people, but I'm a Jewish comedian, so it's my job.
Yeah. I think that if you make yourself the butt of the joke, that can be part of it too. Like I was watching right before we got on, I was cooking a little bit of and I was listening to some YouTube stuff, and there's this guy that I listen to sometimes he's a political commentator, but I've been trying to get a little bit further away from politics on my YouTube feed because it's gotten so
political,
like echo chambery and so specific.
The people who I used to like watching, I don't want to watch anymore because they're all so hyperbolically wrong. Like, right. They're too. He's going to die any day now. Look at this reason. Like, you've been saying that for 2 years.
Yeah. So
it's like
I was saying
Jesus is coming back.
I'm trying to get away from too much of the same stuff, and I was like, oh, click this. It's about they was talking about Stavros Halkios. I don't know if I said that right. The comedian.
Sounds delicious. Oh.
And he was, and they were just, the guy was talking about, He's on this show Tires, and I've only watched a little bit, but Tires is just like clearly anti-woke. It's, this was supposed to be anti-woke. That's their whole gimmick. And I'm like, I finished season 3 today of Tires, and I'm like, I don't think you watched enough of it, or you didn't get it. I'm like, while yeah, it's definitely some anti-woke, or not, there's some non-woke jokes in there.
It's kind of like Demolition Man is taking the piss out of political correctness and stuff, but that doesn't make it anti that as a main feature.
But like the main character, Shane Gillis plays a character that is kind of his persona in real life that we all think about with Shane Gillis, but like also he is the slobby moron of the show. Like it's similar to like Archie Bunker, where like he says
you're not
shit.
Supposed to.
At
That's
one
like
point,
The Boys. You're not supposed to think he's the good guy.
Yeah, there's like a bit in the thing where he said at one point, he says like, I kind of think being good at sex is kind of gay, and you're like, yeah, okay, that's like homophobic. But then every character's like, what are you fucking talking about?
It's an Andrew Tate reference.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that. I mean, that's like the Poe of comedy, right? That's something that people actually say.
Yeah, and he was like, he's like, it's kind of, and because at that point he had been told he had been asked if he made it her finish, in one of the episodes, and he's like, no. And they were like, what do you mean no? Like everyone was like, what? And that's kind of the point. And not to say that, like, I don't think the show is...
He's not the one you're supposed to associate with and aspire to be. This is his character in his show. Doesn't mean that's the director's voice or the writer's voice.
Yeah. I don't think he's as outright I don't think he's as outright moralizing as Archie Bunker, right? As the character, as what they did with Archie Bunker. But it's definitely
he was woke by the end of the series.
But also the point was,
I don't know what the right word is for 2 series, because it changed to Archie's place, but by that full thing, he was a completely different character by the end as he was in the beginning.
Right, but also I think that he's not supposed to be like the cool guy when he's making those jokes, and there are characters who I think are very nice they're it's just trying to be funny, and I would say it's not anti-woke, it's not woke, it's just it's kind of like when
Matt and Trey take the piss out of everybody. It's jokes.
Well, yes, and I also think
they are kind of conservative, but they're super anti-Trump. Like their political bias has not determined what they're going to do for comedy.
Right.
Well, it's like the old thing when people say conservatives can't be funny, and that's completely untrue. They can't be funny doing conservative content because that's not funny. But they can be funny, just not talking about that.
Right. But I also think when you talk about this show, and specifically, I think it's trying to get back to what I think the anti-woke comedians, the genuinely anti-woke, like
the sleepy ones. The sleeping comedians.
Yeah. When they're bitching about like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that anymore. It is kind of more in that vein of like what that genuinely would be like, instead of like, I can't even say the N-word anymore. Like it's more genuine, and it's more like, I told you before, I make jokes with Adam that I wouldn't make with other friends because I wouldn't want to give them permission. I think the show is doing that to some extent, where it's like these characters are supposed to be average guys, average men and women, mostly men, and they're just saying shit that you say in your everyday life when you don't have, and they're doing it in a way that, again, it's probably a lot worse in real life, like some of this shit. It's probably a lot less woke than the show is, but it's also like they're not pulling all the punches. Like, there is a lot of like calling each other gay on the show, but like in ways that are less specifically homophobic than when we used to just say it about like, oh, you think, you like pens, that's gay, like just random, like, oh, pens are gay, whatever. It's more like, okay, it's either showing that they're morons, or it's like that might actually be a gay thing, like a gay trait, and there's like this balance of it. And so when I looked at that
reminds me of when I say jokes that are racial but not racist.
Yes,
like there are some things that like an ongoing thing with a former colleague of mine worked at my ad agency, and they were always talking about coffee. They're getting coffee. They're getting coffee. And I finally said, "What's your go-to coffee order?" And they go, "Iced coffee. I'm gay. We drink iced coffee." And
Yeah.
is that a thing? It's, oh, that's definitely a thing. And so then it became a running gag with us, But it's like I'm not making fun of people for being gay when we make a joke about iced coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like, yeah. Anyway, I didn't mean to get too off topic,
Yeah.
although that
There's
kind
no
of
such thing as off topic. It's talking about the big stuff.
Yeah. And I do want to talk about it beyond the homophobic part. Like I said, there is this racial component, this just way we talk to and about minorities who are conservative, and I think that we are, when you look at Cuban immigrants, there is like an extent to which I think even liberals and leftists go, well, we kind of understand it with them because they came from Cuba and there's these downsides of things.
Well, they came from an oppressive socialist regime, and so when
Yeah.
people say those people are socialist, even if it's not true,
Right.
that word scares them.
Right. And so there, we don't talk as condescendingly, as far as I can tell, to Cuban immigrants as we do
But I don't think there's
Hispanic in
hypocrisy there, though, right? Like, there's not, because it's the hypocrisy. Like, if there is an out gay Republican who is not voting against, not protesting gay marriage, and not, then nobody's making jokes about them because that's not, it wouldn't be funny, and they're not being, the hypocrisy is where the humor is, and they're not being hypocritical. It's like, it's not like most Cuban Americans are voting for it because of ICE. So they're like, it's more like that's the in spite of, or they convinced themselves with cognitive dissonance. He wasn't really, mass deportation doesn't mean mass deportation.
Yeah.
But that's, but there is, you hear about a president of Latinos for Trump being deported, and you're like, that leopard ate my face, and you make fun of him.
Yeah.
But it's not a anti-Latino stance to me. I'll make fun of, you don't be like, oh, holy frioli. Like, you're not making, racist jokes because of the person.
Yeah. And I think that there is, you're right about the hypocrisy side of it. And I hate Jubilee. I think it's a really bad.
You can just say Jew. You don't have to say the whole word.
Is that what Jew is short for Jubilee?
No,
Jubilation
you say
Lee
it like,
from the X-Men.
Like people say like fudge instead of fuck, and like those. I know that shoot is a shit with two O's. I know you say Jubilee. I know what you mean. I can read between the lines.
But no, the Jubilee, the YouTube channel, that is clickbait garbage.
The 20-on-1 debates and such.
When I go look for 20-on-1,
when I look for 20-on-1, I'm not looking for a debate.
Nope.
I'm looking for 40 boobs.
Yeah, or
no, that's what I'm looking for. You look for what you want.
Okay. Whatever. I don't care what the ratio is when it's 20-on-1.
I do. Yeah. So in my porn, I always want more women than men, and it's not homophobic. I feel less like there's a chance that women were forced into it. I don't want to feel like they're being taken advantage of. I want them to be in the position of power in what's going on. Fair. And I just never feel like a DVDA is
sure
consensual. Like
that's true, and I will say
that's my thing.
All of my personal multiple partner fantasies are multiple or are more women than men too. I just was meaning like in video. I don't care, but
I can't get into it if I feel like she's probably not really comfortable. She wishes she wasn't there, but what's she going to do? There's 20 guys. Her life's in danger. I go down that road way too fast. It needs to be, oh, that guy, he's going to be fucked to death. Well, at least what a good way to go. Like it needs to be that version.
Tag. You can tag me in if you get too tired.
I didn't say that, Cherry, but he did.
Okay.
I've known Ricochet Regis since she was a little kid. It's just a weird conversation to have when she's listening.
Anyway, so Jubilee 20-on-1. There was a cut to there was I saw some stuff coming up about the Dave Rubin one. I always forget if you know who Dave Rubin is or not. He's a gay conservative who left. He got famous for, kind of for I left the left because, and during the Jubilee debate, which
And he liked to debate people dumber than him, and then the Jubilee debate flipped the script on him.
No, he's not really known for debate. He's known as basically the laziest person in punditry. Like he does no work, and like he's got the dumbest hot takes. Like, and so like he went in thinking like he just thinks he's smart and so he literally does no work for the thing to prepare for Jubilee. He's not really known for debating at all, and he got it was like borderline a crime what happened to him, how badly he got beaten.
It was 20-1.
But there was a couple times because he's very anti-identity politics. That's one of his talking points is anti-identity politics, and everyone that was talking to him was it would come up he's a gay man who his own audience became kind of, he lost a lot of audience when he revealed that him and his husband were I think they had surrogates, where you have using surrogates to have children, and they were very like, oh, this is not good for, and so it was brought up quite a few times, and one person says like, did you get more, did you get more hate from that did you get more hate from that from conservatives or liberals? And he goes, oh, on that issue, liberals, but overall I get more hate on that issue, conservatives, but overall I get more hate from liberals. And they were like, and the woman was so compassionate and kind in what she said. She's like, yeah, but we give you crap because we disagree with your points on things. They give you crap because of who you are fundamentally. Do you not see that? And like, she's like, yeah, people call you dumb, and people, I don't think she even said that, but like she was implying like people call you dumb or wrong or uninformed or like all these other things. But like the people who are most often making fun of you or having an issue with you are your own side, because you're a gay man who has children with your husband. That's and,
like, yeah,
and he,
I think that's worse. That the personal attack isn't
right. And so that was kind of what made me go, oh, that's what I wanted to do the topic on. It was like, oh, these people actually are doing a good job, because I've seen other videos where, especially Lindsey Graham dying, Benny Johnson gets brought up a lot. Benny Johnson's not out, but it's a widely known secret, which I don't know if he is or isn't,
like
but
a
like
Lady
that
G thing. Yeah.
He is married, he's married with children, unlike Lindsey Graham. But like, there's these various levels of are they gay? Are they, they definitely are gay, like Dave Rubin. Are they gay? It seems like all signs point to yes, like Lindsey Graham. And then there's the more
all
speculative.
Signs point to yes. Okay.
That's not what I thought you were doing.
I mean, you're quoting a fucking Magic 8 Ball.
No, but that's not what that looked like to me.
I just thought it was a huge.
Anyway, so
in my head, I was strangling a toddler.
But I was, I've there's lots of those things where I've seen and shows and leftists that I like, and where they're like, oh yeah, like look at this queen, or look at this, and I'm like, it's uncomfortable whenever it comes up, because it's like, I don't know, it's like, I'm not that they use the F slur, but like if we start, if we start getting about, I think Jon Stewart got called out at one point 10 or 12 years ago with Herman Cain, saying, like doing a voice talking about Herman Cain, and he was called out by I'm totally spacing on the guy's name, but he was a correspondent on the Daily Show. It kind of became a big deal, but he was called out about like, that seems racist. And yeah, Herman Cain's not on our side, but that, if we started doing like that with that like, oh, if we started calling black people that are on the right, like, like I know that black people. But
it's a weird thing to say. You can do an impersonation of someone's voice until they're too far away from your race, and you cannot do an impersonation of that person's voice, but someone else can. when it's the particular person's
Okay.
real voice.
He wasn't doing the real voice. He was
Right.
doing
So
like
that was
a
it.
real.
Like, because
I think the term that was used in the conversation was shuck and jive voice, and that's not really what Herman Cain sounded like, from what I understand. Oh, but I understand what you're saying too, where it's like you can do an impression of Obama, and if you're not trying to be racist, it's fine. And you,
right.
but if you
Thing is,
do an impression, if you
you
do a
do
really
Huggy
accurate,
Bear from Starsky and Hutch and say it's Obama,
I was gonna say,
that's the.
but if you do a really accurate impression of Tracy Morgan you're like, ooh, I feel uncomfortable with that. Do you ever see on SNL, Will Ferrell was hosting one time and he did an impression of Tracy Morgan, and Tracy Morgan comes out and without doing the voice, just straight face goes, "Don't ever do an impression of me again, racist." um, but like if we started doing that, if we started calling you saying like, oh, like a big thing that I've been seeing a lot on my Instagram feed with black creators is them calling other black conservatives and stuff the C word, not cunt, the other C word, it's the C slur. But like you get the point. Like they call them, but like if we started saying like Bill Maher did it, right? Like if we started saying like, look at this house, person, or this, there is a level of which you're like, oh shit, we shouldn't be doing that, but yet we are like, oh, look at this queen, or or
Yeah, but
listen,
it's also
like
there's the weird thing is like, is there anything wrong with being a queen? Like, there's nothing inherently negative about the word or person being one. I mean, it's something that there are people who are proud of their fact that they consider themselves queen. Like, it's not a
sure,
negative term necessarily,
I agree with you.
and it also depends how you do it.
Yeah, well, they're not
like,
doing it positively.
I have friends who are genderqueer, and if I say this person identifies as genderqueer, this person's queer, that's not the same as the old oh, he's queer, he won't beat up F words with us, like
Yeah,
it's not like he's using it as a slur because it's a word that is in the. I mean, it's weird for me because having come from a couple of years of working on HIV, and I'm surrounded by people
yeah,
in the community, as they say, and they say that all the time, and they don't, and they wouldn't. I don't. Most of them that I knew wouldn't gatekeep that word.
right.
They just think if yes, queen is you're doing a great job, you're awesome. The
Sure,
same
when
as
you
saying
mean it
yes,
in a
man.
positive way, but when they're
Yeah,
saying it in a dismissive way, it feels
right. But a
oh,
dismissive
he's
thing is
a
always dismissive, and that's the thing.
yeah,
Like, I mean, I'll go back to when I first moved to North Carolina, and a fraternity brother who had recently graduated, was at a party, and he goes, "What are you, a Jew?" And that sounded really insulting. Where my rabbi goes, "So you're a Jew?" Not insulting. And
sure,
it's like, it's not the word,
yeah,
it's the person who said it and how they said it.
right,
The word itself is not is not inherent. That's one of the things. Some of the things that people get upset about when it's used in a conversation, in a joke, in a political comedy, or whatever, is sometimes it's not. You're making an assumption that being gay is inherently bad. If you say that, I think Lindsey Graham is gay, you can't say that. Well, what? I didn't say anything wrong. I could also say I think he likes brunettes. I mean,
yeah,
it's not inherently. It's only if you say that something is inherently
right.
wrong that it's wrong to think someone. It's not an accusation
Or
if you
no,
don't think it's wrong.
and I agree with you, and that's why I don't have a problem with calling out the hypocrisy in it. But I do think that it's there is definitely a
Especially like to me
flippancy,
is why are you calling it out like that?
right?
That becomes the reason. Like, why are
Yeah,
you saying it? Like the guy who called me a Jew didn't do it because he wanted to talk about my religious background. To him it was a slur. Like, it's just different. So the same as saying, "Oh, I think that person is gay," is different than saying, "Oh, why? Oh, because I met his husband." Versus I think he's gay. Why? Well, because he's a horrible person, and that's the way I describe horrible people. Like, it's a very different use of the word.
yeah,
And there are some words that are just slurs because they've only been used as slurs, and they just are
yeah,
slurs.
yeah, yeah,
And in Louis C.K., the second episode, I think, of Louis, one of my first improv teachers, Rick Crom, who is a stand-up in New York and a musical comedian, he they did like 5 or 6 comedians playing poker, and Rick was in it, and they were talking about the F slur for gay people, and Rick
yeah,
is very flamboyantly sometimes gay when he wants to be flamboyant. Yeah, so and they start talking about the word, and they call him that because they're comedians, and they call him, and they go, "Does it offend you?" And he goes, "Well, you have to understand what the word is. That's a word for firewood. in England, and or
Mhm.
in the old days, like now it's a cigarette in England, but it's firewood. That's why it's cigarette. But and it was like throw another gay person onto the bonfire like they're firewood and burn them to death is
Yeah.
where it comes from. So when you say that, that's what I hear, and they go, "Okay, you F slur," and they all laugh because they're a bunch of comedians. That's it. That's
Yeah.
with comedians how it works. But it was a really great speech about the word by one of my former teachers, whose voice still echoes in my head sometimes, and on my Facebook feed because we chat every once in a while.
Nice. All right. Yeah. I agree with you in general, and I agree with Mr. Nimrod who said, like Carlin said, it's the context.
Yeah.
I do worry that sometimes, and I don't think we do it, but like the left, and maybe it's more liberals than it is the left, right? I don't know. Get a little too easy going with that context. They're like, well, they're a bad person, so I can say whatever I want to
Yeah, well,
them.
see, if that's your reason for saying it, then you're bad.
Yeah,
Like if you said it because I think what I'm about to say is something you say about a bad person,
yeah,
you are wrong.
right.
If you're saying something good, but you don't think it's because that doesn't make them a bad person, that's not the point, not bad
Yeah,
personing, then you're not necessarily wrong. And it could be hard to differentiate, and that's when you go back to the Anthony Jeselnik rule. If you're good at it,
yeah,
that's clear and you don't get in trouble. It's
right,
if you're bad at it, then
right. And
don't do it.
well, and also, like, are you saying it not because they are bad or in general, but because you think it's okay to say, you think it's okay to demean or humiliate or them, and
But
that
if
they
it's
will
your
find.
if it's your goal to demean and
Yeah,
humiliate, then that's an inherently negative thing.
right, agree.
If that's not your goal, like saying Pete
But I,
Buttigieg is could be our first gay president.
right,
That's not a negative thing to say that he's gay. You're not, but you're saying you're going to vote for him. He's gay.
yeah,
Suddenly it
right, right,
changes what you're saying, completely, because
yeah.
then you're saying there's a negative connotation to it.
Or it'd be like, oh, you're gonna go vote for Nancy over there, or
Right.
whatever.
Like I said, like the same way, like the
Yeah,
word Jew. You can make it sound, and it's funny because the youth of today, there's people I see online who get upset when they see people use the word Jew. Like I've been called
yeah,
out for using the word Jew, and I'm like, what are you fucking stupid? I'm a Jew.
yeah.
Like watch any
Well,
Jewish comedian from the '60s, Mel Brooks, any interview with Mel Brooks, he'll say the word Jew 200 times. Somehow the Gen Z has decided Jew is an insult.
right. So
And
okay, that you just said, "Are you stupid?" And that's great. That's great transition to what I was going to start to say next, which is it.
I'm sorry,
When
is
you
your IQ below the general
no no
mean?
no 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 you're when you're attack when you say, are you throwing the whole Jewish community or gay community under the bus by attacking that person the way you were attacking them? Whereas yes, I suppose if you like, if we use the R slur, that is doing the same thing. If you call
Republican?
Donald Trump or George W. Bush or anybody or the R slur, but if you say, are you stupid? Do we care about the stupid community as opposed to the R? The actual
I don't.
mental
That's why I think people who are PC to that extreme,
right,
that any word offends a
right,
community, then you can never speak again because
right.
anything could offend anyone.
Right, and I agree with that. But like I don't, same thing when we you talked about fat shaming, and I said, well, I think it's okay to ugly shame. When like I have often referred to Ted Cruz. My nickname for him is the human booger because he just it's his whole
I mean,
it's his
and
whole
it
essence.
is a
It's
thing.
not
Like
just his looks.
factually, there are other people who look similar who might take offense. Oh, you don't
Yeah,
like people who look like me. It's like, yeah, sorry. I hate to tell you, but you look like Ted Cruz.
right, right. But also with Ted Cruz, at least part of that is his whole aura
Right.
is booger.
If he was a good
But
person, he wouldn't look as bad.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Because I
Yeah, I mean,
think,
it's his attitude
mhm.
and his ability and his
but
inability to do Simpsons voices.
I'm not worried that like if like
And anyone out there who has not heard Ted Cruz do Simpsons impersonations,
or
oh,
Princess
Google
Bride,
it. Or yeah, any impersonations.
he
Just Ted
he
Cruz doing an impersonation,
he
not being
can really
impersonated, but doing an
yeah,
impersonation. Oh my God. That's how you know someone doesn't have any value when they don't have any comedic ability or talent. You
right.
gotta have some. You gotta have some.
And
Otherwise, you're the anti Elvis. You know who? Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox is the anti Elvis. I'm sorry, I'm way too old for you. My references are too old. Sorry.
I understand Michael J. Fox and
And he's the anti-Elvis, like the Antichrist. He's the anti-Elvis. Everyone has a little bit of Elvis except Michael J. Fox. He's the anti-Elvis.
Okay, we'll explain it.
It's Mojo Nixon. It's a song by Mojo Nixon.
Oh, okay.
It's way before your time.
Yeah.
It's Mojo.
Anyway,
and as the dead Kennedy said, or dead Milkman, if you don't have Mojo Nixon, then your store can use some fixin'.
Okay. As usual, you got me off track.
I win.
But yeah, no, like if you know, as somebody who thinks of themselves as ugly, like if you call Ted Cruz ugly, it does not offend me as an ugly person. Whereas if you know, and you know, like I think that like that's the difference. Like we can't, like I agree with you. If you think the idea of insulting stupid people as a group or ugly people as a group, or what, you know, I those with severe looks deficit, as George Carlin would say. I don't care so much about that, especially because stupid and ugly are subjective too. Like you mentioned fat shaming or weight shaming before, and like obesity is, I mean, there is a subjectivity to what's fat or not. I think that men on the internet show us that all the fucking time, right? With like, look at this one picture where she's breathing in and her belly is slightly outward. She is fat now. But overall, there is an objectivity to healthy weight limits, right? Healthy, both sides of the
That's
aisle.
why you used the word obese at one point. Like that is a medical term. That has a definition versus fat.
Whereas I'm sure there are some people that we would think, oh, that person's objectively ugly or objectively stupid. But like when we call someone ugly or stupid, we're just saying like, in my opinion. Whereas if I call you gay, or I call you black, or I call you fat, or I call you Jewish, those are factual or objective measure, you know, things, and that doesn't mean I'm necessarily objectively right, but like they are, you know, and that's where a difference.
Fact versus opinion doesn't be right to be a fact. It's just not an opinion,
right?
And it's falsifiable,
right? And so like that, you know, and so those communities are different to me than like, because again, there are beautiful. That's what eating disorders are, right? There are beautiful people who think that they're ugly and body dysmorphia. But is that
a community?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, like when you're in marketing and you're talking about how you want to do audience segmentation, you can segment on anything. People who live in this area, people who are 6 foot tall, people who are, you know, overweight, over a particular weight, whatever. But that doesn't make them a community just because you can segment them that way.
People who are so girthy that they thought your magic 8-ball was a blowjob.
At least it was black.
Mr. Nimrod says, isn't Ted Cruz impersonating a human being?
Not well.
I'm going to go eat human food now. I need human sustenance. Yeah. But, okay. So I think that's where we should probably start to wrap things up. What do you think?
That's fine, because I can smell the food that my family brought home. They brought home the Dublin spice bag for me from Doherty's.
Are you from Ireland? Because when I see you, my penis is Dublin. I really hope Logan's not watching tonight.
Yeah. It's like the clean version of that joke is just, what's the fastest growing city in the world? Dublin. It's always Dublin.
Yeah. Nice.
It's much cleaner. You can be clean. You can do the 8 o'clock show. You don't got to do the 10 o'clock show.
Nice.
So a quick announcement for someone listening, Mr. Nimrod. The person that we know with the strongest calves in the world had a leg amputated 1 year ago today. I just found that out.
Oh, before we start signing off, we'll just I want to say,
check the Facebooks.
I was on vacation last week with my family and with Sarah and Logan and Sarah's side of the family, and Logan and his two older cousins, were doing Trump impressions one night, and they were just constantly doing them back and forth, and they've got that's his dance.
Constantly doing it back and forth.
So they were doing the impressions back and forth, and they each have like a little something to add. Like Logan probably had the voice the best, but one of my nephews was like, "We also have to say it was some something that he like, one of those things that he says like constantly. I'm spacing on what it was, and they were like trying to come up with stuff, and Logan was being so funny. He at one point he's like, I really enjoyed being friends with Epstein, but at the end I really left him hanging. And I was like, Jesus Christ, Logan. And I'm not entirely sure he knows that Jeffrey Epstein died hanging, or he
That's
just meant,
great.
like, I wasn't sure if he meant the joke or not, but it was so funny. And I said, oh, if you want to do a good,
Last time I talked to him, it was about Jane Lynch. I'm just saying.
if you want to talk, I said, if you want to talk, like, if you want to like say some stuff that's really funny, that's Donald Trump style, Google Charles Manson quotes and do your Donald Trump impression. And so Logan's like, they say I'm crazy, but they're all crazy, or whatever. Like and I'm like, see? And he's like, oh my God, these are perfect. Who is Charles Manson? I'm like, well, he's kind of like a mixture
He
of
looks
a
a
cult
little
leader
like Doug Henning. Does that help?
Well, he saw a picture of him. And then after a while of Charles Manson, I was like, all right, I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. I said, how about you look up Weird Al lyrics? I bet Weird Al lyrics will be really funny. And then I said, oh, look up The Saga Begins. Do you know The Saga Begins?
Long, long time ago in
Yeah.
a galaxy far away.
So he did the entire song as Donald Trump, and he's like, maybe Vader someday later. Now he's just a small guy, a small fry, and he just did, like, read the entire thing, and I was just like cracking up. He's such a funny kid, and my nephews are funny too. All
Very
right,
funny.
now we can start to wrap
Mikey
things
and I have been sharing back and forth videos of these two guys who do wrestler impersonations.
Oh yeah,
And it's things like them reading Charles Manson quotes and like reading,
it was Will
all different quotes.
Sasso, and I can't think of the guy's name, the other guy's name, but yeah, well, they're doing Macho Man.
Yeah,
Like,
Macho Man
you
and
call
Hogan,
me crazy. He's really good at the Macho Man impression.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is. It's funny, he's on that show, the tires show that I was talking about before. It's not Sam Morril, it's another guy. Anyway, why don't you start?
It's funny that Rita just said the same thing about the Macho Man impersonations in the chat. Like because of the delay, we talked about it, and then she typed it. So, hey, speaking of in the chat, that's because we're on the YouTube. So if you are watching this on the YouTubes, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you too can be in the chat, because you will know when we go live. It's usually Monday at 6:30 Eastern time, but not always. Sometimes we throw you a curveball and we do it a different day or a different time. So please like, subscribe, put comments under the video. Even if your comment is I hate you, put it on there, Mom.
Yeah. And if you haven't already done that, you should also check. Yeah, I'm fucked up.
That wasn't smooth. Let's take two. After you've done that, head on over to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff.
At patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, you're going to find 4 options on how you can support us. You're going to find a $0 option, which obviously doesn't give us money, but what it does do is it helps us algorithmically. $1 option, which $1 a month, not $1 an episode, so very little, very little investment by you. That gets you all the episodes early. The $3 gets you extra content. The $10 gets you before the show. We have a little chat every week. Today we talked about. Do you remember what we talked about? We had like the longest one
We
we've had.
talked about shitty things going on in my house when we're going to move back in.
And lanterns.
We
talked about the Green
TV
Lanterns
show Lanterns
show.
at length.
Right.
Ironically, I an hour ago was texting with someone in the chat, Ricochet Rita, about the very same topic, lanterns.
Yeah. So if you want to, go to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff. That's a great way to support us. Matthew, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for sticking around, listen to us talking about the big stuff. If you didn't stay through the whole thing, you are